and then we'll be going to questions from the audience. So feel free to use the chat panel that's on the right to be able to pop your questions in there, and we'll make sure that we try and get to them at the end of the session. What I'll do is I'll kick off just first by introducing myself. So if any of you haven't met me yet, my name's Talia. I'm a Bundjalung Yugambeh woman originally from Queensland, but I now live in Melbourne and I work in the Career Trackers Melbourne office. And so the first thing that I like to do is just acknowledge the fact that I'm working on the land of the Boonwurrung and the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. Just like to pay my respects to them and their ancestors, both past and present, as well as all of the different the countries and the language groups that are joining us today. So I'd like to pay my respects to all of those groups that are joining today on this hangout, and just acknowledge all of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that are joining this call, and just pay my respects to them, their elders, as well as all of the current students that are part of our program, that are part of that future cohort of students. So welcome to the third episode of CT at Home for today. So the focus of today is that we want to look at how can students still engage with their university and continue to access the support from their university during this time when everything has moved to largely online. So what we've done is we've gathered some really great representatives from some of our amazing university partners, and they're going to be speaking about what their different Indigenous support units are doing at their universities, how they're supporting their students. And even if you're coming in and joining from a different university that we don't have a representative from, I think a lot of the services and resources that are being offered are quite universal in terms of what universities are offering. So if there's something that you hear today in the session that you really want to have access to or use, that's something to definitely follow up from the call today. So what I'll do is we'll have the panelists introduce themselves just to give a little bit more information about themselves, and then we'll jump into some pre-prepared questions that we have. Some of them have been sent in already from our social media that James has collated, so we'll answer them, and then we'll get around to the audience questions as well. So make sure if you've joined us, send those through on the chat panel, and then we'll come to a point of time where I will go to the audience questions and make sure we answer those. So for everyone that we have today, we've got three guest speakers. So we've got Becki Cook, who's from the Gumari Student Success Unit at Griffith University, who's joining us. We've got Rhyann Roberts, who's from Wallatuka at the University of Newcastle. And then we have Jody St. Clair, who's the coordinator at the Yungarindi Student Centre at Flinders University. So what I'll get them to do is just to quickly introduce themselves, just like a little quick 1-minute intro, give a short background on yourself and your role. And then one thing that you've been able to enjoy so far about isolation.
Thanks, Talia. My name is Becki Cook. I am a descendant of the Nunukal people from Minjarrabah or Stradbroke Island, just off the coast here in Queensland. I'm from the Gumari Student Success Unit at Griffith University. We've been working from home now for 4 weeks, so our unit's been closed for the last few weeks. And I've been joking with my staff. The running joke at the moment is that we're telemarketers, that we are on the phones all day calling our students and just checking in and seeing how everyone's going, because we miss you guys too. We really miss having you guys pop into our offices and just walk past and letting us know how you're going. So this engagement on the phone and what we've been doing has been really great to hear what people have been up to and how everyone's travelling, and even doing some of these calls, seeing some little snippets into people's lives that we don't normally get. One of our students the other week was online with his new little baby, so that was very exciting. What I've been enjoying so far about being at home in isolation, I think, is just that little bit of extra time you get during your day without having to rush out of the house and get yourself into work. I've been going for walks most mornings just around where I live, and we've had some really beautiful weather here in Queensland, which we're really fortunate to have. So just enjoying being outside and the beautiful place in which we live at the moment.
That's great. Thanks.
So my name's Rhyann Roberts. I am a Student Advancement Officer at the Wallatuka Institute at the University of Newcastle. I got sent home from work a bit early because we had a bit of a scare in our office with someone just calling up with saying they may have coronavirus. So I've been home for, I think, working from home for a month now, maybe a bit longer. And yeah, I totally agree. I miss seeing students and hearing what they're up to and seeing their faces around the halls. One thing I am enjoying about working from home is having more time to actually answer emails and calls from students, and really having more time to get to know them via the phone or via emails. So that's kind of a positive that I'm really seeing out of working from home and working just in different to normal. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Rhyann.
Yeah, so my name's Jody St Clair, so I coordinate Indigenous student support at Flinders Uni. Like the others, I've been home now for about 3 weeks. I'm actually finding it quite difficult working from home. So I really feed off all the face-to-face contact with students. We've got a really lovely centre at Flinders University. And I know that sounds very metro-centric, but the majority of our students are based at Bedford Park, do come on campus. We've got a really beautiful centre. So I miss being based in the centre, and although we're closed, we've very much moved all of our support online. So that's been a really interesting exercise to move online. So we've been doing daily drop-in sessions on Zoom, and you know, getting the whole team together and just having fun for an hour. So that's been really good. We've also got a private group on Facebook, which is like I call it the wall of support. So it's about putting funny stories on there or motivational pieces just to help each other along. So I'm an Arundel woman. So, and I have 3 adult children. So, and 2 of those are in higher ed. So it's been a really interesting experience. I guess the one thing that I've really liked during this time is all the funny virtual meetings that we have. And I was saying before, all the cameo appearances of, you know, children, partners, pets. I've really enjoyed that. I've actually found I've got to know people a lot better. Yeah, seeing what art pieces and how people decorate their homes and learning a bit more about people. I found that really fun, really good, really enjoyable.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks so much for everyone for introducing yourselves and just sharing a little bit about what you're going through in this time as well. And I think it's good to know that it's not just like us or the students that are kind of going through these changes. All of the people that are trying to support us as well are also adjusting to this new situation and what that looks like. And I know as well it's been great from a career tracker's perspective to be able to see inside people's homes, to meet their pets or their housemates or their spouses. And yeah, we've really enjoyed that time, even though we're not seeing each other physically. I feel like we have gotten to know each other a lot more, which is really great. So what we'll do is we'll jump into the first question. And this one is really around looking at the fact that we are in that point of semester where we're coming up to exams and wanting to look at what are some tips that you have been working with your students to help them to be able to really kind of smash out their exams and help ace their subjects while they're also studying from home this semester. So we might just go through the call just in order of, if I think this is a good one for everyone to answer. So maybe we'll start with Becki and Rhyann and then go through to Jody for this one.
Yes, I think my biggest tip for studying is to break things down into smaller parts. I know being at home myself, it can be a bit hard to stay motivated and stay focused with what I'm doing. I'm doing a research master's myself, so I've had a little bit of time off to try and get some of that writing done. And last week I was just really struggling. So setting myself small little goals before I go and pat my dog or go hang the washing out or whatever I've got going on at home. So I think setting those targets to get something done, perhaps before a morning tea break or before lunch or before you go outside, and a plan of what you're going to do for that day in those small little increments really does help. So I think if I had to give one hot tip for studying or being organised or doing assignments, it would be breaking those things down with those schedules throughout the day.
My tip would be to pick a time every week or every day that you sit down and you just focus on uni work for an hour or so. And it's even great if you take time to set up a space to do that, so that when you sit down, you're prepared with your laptop or your notes. Yeah, just being consistent. For me, I'm studying on as well, and I pick my Sunday afternoons and I spend 2 to 3 hours just looking over my uni work or seeing what needs to be done, just so that every week I know I have that set time and I can really focus on what I need to do during that allocated time.
Yes, so probably my biggest tip is for people not to be embarrassed about maybe not having done the work by certain dates or getting a bit behind, or because things happen. So I'd say don't be embarrassed. I'd say reach out. Have you know, so we're all people. I think that's the biggest thing with students. Students get a bit embarrassed about not meeting with their tutors if they haven't pre-prepared, or, you know, I'd say just keep to the regular times. Keep talking.
Yeah, that's really great to know. Thanks for that. And I think there are definitely things that can be applied as well, I think, throughout the semester and going into the next semester as well, depending on what that looks like. Another question that we had asked as well is just looking at tutoring through the ISUs and whether students can still apply for that and receive tutoring while they're studying at home. So I know, Jody, you had touched on that a little bit in a catch-up that we had before. So maybe if you want to kick us off with that and just talking about students accessing tutoring at this time. Absolutely.
So, I mean, tutoring is has moved to online. So at Flinders University, we've got virtual rooms set up, so you can actually, your tutor will organise that for you. It's never too late to join. My suggestion is that with tutoring, join up straight away at the beginning and make regular times to meet with your tutor. So touch base, I say every week, just regularly touch base. It's still available. I found the take up has been even greater this time of the year, which is really wonderful to see. So it's all available online. You can meet virtually with your tutor. So yeah, keep on meeting, keep on talking. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. And Rhyann, anything from Wallatuka in terms of just the work that's happened there with tutoring and students accessing that? Like, have you reached out to students proactively, or should they reach out to their ISU if they want to take that up?
So we have contacted all of our first year students just to check in and to make sure that they're aware of it. But any students that are in their second year or further, they received an email just to say that, hey, tutoring's still available, so that students can apply. During the break, students were allocated 3 hours, so they could have some tutoring over the break to catch up. But once the break ends, they'll get their normal allocated hours during the semester. And we are encouraging them to do it via Zoom or over the phone. And if they are meeting face-to-face, just taking those safety precautions with the distancing and hygiene. So yeah, it is still available to our students, and we'd encourage to reach out to anyone at Wallatuka if they need further information on how to access it.
Yeah, and similar to how we talked about at the start of this call, even though we're talking about specific units here, each of those support services are things which are offered with a different Indigenous support unit. So yeah, if students haven't received an email yet, you follow up with your ISUs if you are looking to take up tutoring for that for certain courses, or if you haven't yet, it might even be a good precaution just in terms of taking up tutoring as a bit of a proactive idea for your subjects at this time, and just getting a bit of extra support as well for those subjects wouldn't hurt at this time. So definitely follow up with your unit if you haven't received an email about it, and if you haven't taken up the tutoring support services available yet. I'll just send a reminder as well just to everyone about questions for the audience, so make sure you pop that in the chat channel if you do have any questions, and we'll get around to that, and then we can even get you to ask your question in person if you do want, or you can just type it out in chat, or if you have a specific question for one of the speakers that we have as well, feel free to direct it to them. The next question that we have is just around special considerations and extension policies, and students wanting to just know how should they clarify those processes and what are the different processes with universities. So Becki, I might just get you to talk about what Gamari has been telling students and what Griffith is doing in regards to their extension policies and the grading around this time.
Sure. So a lot of our information for our university, and I'm sure similar across the universities, is they've put together a coronavirus information webpage, and our link is straight on our Griffith homepage for that. And it does contain all of the information to do with some of these really common questions. Can I get an extension? What happens if I get sick? What happens if I fail a course now that I've had to move home? So what we've got on our website at the moment is that students are to follow a similar process as they would usually to apply for extensions. However, there are some extensions to that in terms of how many days you can be given for extensions due to these circumstances at the moment. And Griffith has also a arrangement that should students actually fail a course this trimester, it won't actually impact your GPA for next trimester. However, you still need to complete the course to be able to get the requirements for your degree. So I would just encourage you to follow similar processes that you would normally, but know there are some additional arrangements there. But again, make sure you're reaching out to the people who are your lecturers, your degree coordinators, that kind of thing, because they will have the most up-to-date and accurate information for the degree that you're studying. I know with our students, we study so many different things here, so the requirements are a little bit different between degrees. So just take this opportunity to ask questions. Everyone's learning and going through these changes at the moment. So any question, even if information's being sent to you and you're not sure, just reach back out to your university or your support unit and someone will be able to help you and direct you to the right place.
Yeah, that sounds good. And we had a similar question, which I might just jump to, that came in from our social media as well, just to direct to Jody and Rhyann. That was in regards to our university's going to change the grading system this semester. And so similar to what Becki had just touched on with the GPA and how that affects students, was there anything from both of your universities as well that you've changed or updated in terms of the grading system for this semester?
Yeah, so the University of Newcastle has this information available on the website. So what they're doing is that then there's no fails for the semester. If students fail, they will have to retake the course, but it won't affect their GPA if they fail as well. So yeah, that information is there available for students, but it's pretty much there will be no fail grades and students will just have to retake it in the next semester.
At Flinders University, we're still finalising, because obviously at this stage students are halfway through their first semester. So at this stage we're focusing on extensions. So at the moment you can apply for an extension as long as it's before the due date through Flow, but you don't need any supporting evidence or anything like that. So they'll be granted unconditionally. In terms of assessment pieces, that's yet to be finalised. Basically, a fail grade will still remain as a fail grade, except there'll be a bit more of an opportunity for students to be able to resubmit pieces. So I know the university is looking to communicate the policy in the next week or two. So those bits are yet to be finalised for Flinders University. They're still being discussed at the college level.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's great to know. Thanks, guys. And I know something that Becki and I talked about is that in regards to those extension policies, that each uni will normally have their own policies and processes set in place of how you apply for those extensions, and most of them still apply at this time. So it's best to check with your university and the resources about how you apply for those, whether that's an email or you need to submit it through a certain portal, or to your course coordinator. Make sure that you're submitting those extensions through the correct processes, just so that it does get seen and that it does get through the proper processes to get processed. So next, we've just got a question in regards to the financial hardship support, which I know has been a big question that a lot of our students as well have been asking their advisors at Career Trackers. So maybe Rhyann and Jody just talking about what financial hardship support might be available to students and how they would normally find out about that through their universities or their ISUs. So Rhyann, if you want to kick us off.
Yep. So at the University of Newcastle, we are offering, there are some vouchers available for students during the semester break, and the information around that is on the website, but students can just go and apply for that. And they're working on getting potential scholarships are happening, but that's still kind of in the works, and they're still planning how that would look. I'm studying at Charles Sturt University, and I know that they have scholarships available for Indigenous students. So depending on what you're studying, if full-time versus part-time, there's a set amount available, and you just apply on their website. So yeah, I think if students are looking, it's just best to go on the website and look at financial support options.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously, given that we're in the middle of a pandemic, there's you know, a lot of people for different reasons are experiencing a lot of financial stress, and I know that the universities are really going above and beyond to try and alleviate or to reduce the amount of stress that students are under. So I would highly recommend that students go to their main web pages, and there'll be a COVID-19 update page for students to go to. And most universities have got a range of different grants available at the moment. And in addition to those, what I would say to students is to contact their Indigenous Support Unit, because we're aware of what all the different grants are that are out there, and they're very much different depending on how you're situated. So how you are financially, whether you work as a casual and you rely on that employment, whether you receive ab study, whether you're a dependent and so you don't receive ab study. So we've got a number of different grants and different scholarships that you can apply for, that the university is really keen for you to apply for. So don't be embarrassed about having the conversation. What we've done in our unit in Yungarendi is that we've actually set aside money that's in other parts of our budget. We've actually put towards grants for students. So we've got our own internal grants, financial hardship grants. So I'd encourage people to pick up the phone or send us an email, and we'd love to talk to you about it.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for that, Jody. And just looking at in terms of resources that the universities have for students to be able to adjust to working from home, they might be resources that are already available for students, things like creating a weekly schedule or a planner or an assessment calendar. Just keen to hear about the resources that different universities have available and how to access that. And Becky, maybe if you want to chat through that, because I know you said Griffith has that available as a already established resource that they've started to obviously highlight a lot more during this time.
Yeah, sure. So at Griffith, they like to call our digital campus our sixth campus. So there has been already a lot of resources put into students studying online. And I believe online students take up about a third. We have 5 physical campuses, and our online students actually take up the third highest number of students here at Griffith. So on our, through the COVID website, there is a link to our online study skills website as well, which is called Thrive Online. And it's got all different tips that students can use to navigate the online environment, access to study tips, accessing your course materials, resources and reading lists through the website. So the links do follow through, and there is a frequently asked questions within our COVID-19 website for students too in the learning and teaching area. So if there's videos, there's step-by-step guides, and there are some resources in there that students can download as well.
That sounds good. And then, yeah, for both you, like Jody and Rhyann, for the resources that each of your universities have offered, what are things there that you would suggest for students to access in terms of creating a successful working from home plan, whether that's assessment calendars or those tips for studying online? Is that similar as well to Griffith in terms of there's an online study page or resource that students can access?
Yeah, so at the University of Newcastle, Wallatuka has a Blackboard site where students can go and access all those resources that we've worked on to develop. So I believe there's a semester planner that students can download to put in their key semester dates. So just a bit of a visual for students to put up at home near their study space, or just a bit of a reminder. So if there's any resources, I would direct students to look at the Wallatuka Blackboard site, or just the university website as well. There's resources there available for students.
Yeah, so Flinders University has got a brilliant module program for students who are new to the university called Finding Your Way at Flinders. So there's that one, so that's the university-wide one. But I would highly recommend Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students to contact our unit at Yungarindu, because I've got a deadly study skills program and we've got some fantastic study skills advisors who are just standing by, available either by email or on the phone, who would love to work with you. So they can work with you on an individual basis and help you to tailor a program for you. So don't be shy.
Yeah, no, that's really great to know. And I think, if anyone else has any questions that haven't been answered so far, pop them in the chat, and we'll go to another question and then jump back to any that are still there. But the one that we had was from a student who submitted it via social media was, can I still go to uni right now because I don't have Wi-Fi at home? So Rhyann, I know you talked about the fact that some of your unit in the centre was open there for people to access. So for you, what was the case there at Wallatuka and the University of Newcastle?
So if students need to come onto the campus, they just need their student card to swipe into the Wallatuka building, and then just swipe into the computer room. So all students were granted access to that building, all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students, but they also can use that to access other campuses. So if they come into the city or if they're going to the library, so it's just a matter of swiping their ID card if they need it. But they recognise that students don't always have access to computers or Wi-Fi at home, so they've allowed students access. And Wallatuka is open, so if students need it, it's there.
Yeah. And then Jody and Becky, was that the same for your campuses as well, or different?
So our centre for Aboriginal students is closed at the moment. It's only because it was identified that quite a large proportion of our student population is in the vulnerable category. So we thought it best that we close the centre. However, there are a couple of major places within the campus that students can still access computers, printing, and we've still got a skeleton staff available as well.
So at Griffith, our Gamari units are closed. They've been closed for, I think this is our 4th week, going into being closed now. However, Griffith University does have a variety of computer rooms on campus which are still available, and that is on the website. So students are welcome to go to use those if they did need access to the internet. And for students that still were unable to get a computer at home, Griffith has set up loan computers. So because so many of our computer rooms on campus are closed, those computers have been repurposed into student loan computers. So they just need to fill out a form and you can come pick up a desktop computer.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I think, that's definitely something worth checking out if you are a student from either one of these universities or another one, to find out if they have similar access where it's still open, or things like a loan computer that you could access during this time. And we've got another question, just a final one in regards to looking at for students who might be first year students or first semester students just having trouble accessing the online portal, particularly if it is their first semester at university. They may not be familiar with what an online portal looks like for university. It can be quite confusing accessing the Blackboard and their different topics and subjects. So what resources do universities have available for students to either access online workshops or tutorials on how to navigate that online portal and find access to all of these resources? And Rhyann, maybe if you kick off talking about, I know you said, about the University of Newcastle, or where you're doing your current study as well, studying at the same time as supporting students, the fact that your university has an online workshop too.
Yeah, so at the University of Newcastle, we're encouraging students to reach out to the learning advisors, so they kind of understand what technology students need access to and how to kind of navigate around that. And so with that, you can get a phone call, or it can be via email, that they can provide resources to give you a guide with step-by-step instructions to access the technology, but also just on the university's website, if you search, they can direct you to a page to take a workshop. Where I'm studying at Charles Sturt, they actually have study sessions available, so students can sign up and enter, like similar to this, where you go in and they'll chat to you about what you need access to and how you go about accessing it. And you accessing it with the full potential of what it's there for, just to help out with study.
Yeah, no, that's great. And then Becky, in terms of Griffith and with their online portal and accessing help in regards to that, was there any support that was provided?
So through the website, they've popped links up for students to access online tutorials and videos of navigating some of those spaces if they're not familiar with them beforehand. Luckily, a lot of students were using those resources prior, with all of the lecture notes and course materials accessed through the online portal as well. So there is some links there. Students are still struggling, but I would, again, if you aren't sure, either reach out to your support unit or to IT within your campus, and they'll be able to direct you to how to access the things that you need, or any software or equipment from home.
Yeah, and then Jody, in terms of Flinders University and the students there at Yungarundi, was there anything, like if students are struggling to find their way around the portal, was there anything different, or should they just, again, like search for those resources on the main website?
So I guess the Bible for students at the moment is what we call the online hub. So that's a main website that's on the main. It'll be up front and centre when students come in. So the online hub is our main point of reference for students at the moment, and it's got a number of different links to different parts. And if you scroll right down to the bottom, there's one for technical support. So it just depends on whether it's navigating and accessing particular things that you need, or whether it's a technical problem. So all the information there is on the main web page for current students. But I mean, I'm more than happy for students to call our team, and we can step people through. So that's something that we can do as well.
Yeah, no, that's great to know. And then maybe as like a final, either like a takeaway, like a question or a thought, is just in regards to this particular time, like I guess looking at it more from a positive note, if there's one positive thought or benefit that you think students could take away from this experience, what does that look like, or what does making the most of this situation look like to you and your students? So, I mean, Jody, if you want to kick us off, and then Rhyann, if you have anything as well.
I'm just thinking about it probably just as I am. I found it a really good time for me to think about what's really important. And I found it's actually pared away a lot of the distractions that I would normally have in my everyday. So I find it a really good time to be able to focus, on the things that I've got to do, but also for family and friends. And I think it might be a really good time for people to think about what it is that they really want to do, and to keep it really simple and pare things right back. I think that's a really good positive that I think's come out of this time.
I think a positive that I look at is finding ways to be creative, whether that's with finding hobbies to entertain yourself or finding creative ways to get in contact with and stay in touch with family and friends. I know my family, we have a big group chat on Facebook, and we video call each other, and half the times just trying out filters on there. But yeah, just being creative, even with staying motivated for uni, find ways that motivate you, whether it's having an extra bit of chocolate or getting to watch a Netflix episode when you finish studying. Yeah, just being creative and enjoying it.
Yeah, no, that's really great. Well, I want to thank each of you, so Becki, Rhyann, and Jody, for joining us today and just for offering your time as well. I think if any students heard anything about today's conversation, that you want to access one of those resources or support services, even if it was mentioned about a specific university, each of the universities will normally be offering something similar, and particularly at this time, reaching out to your Indigenous support unit about things that you might need for working at home or getting support in your subjects at university. That's something we definitely want to encourage. So yeah, I want to thank you for all joining us and for all of our guests today for sharing their time and all of the information that they have about how they're supporting students during this very different time. So I hope everyone has a really great weekend. And I think that was a really great conversation to have and a really nice way to finish off the week. So thanks, Becki, Rhyann, and Jody.
Welcome.
Thank you, Talia.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone, for joining.